Welcome back to the Pursuit of Accuracy. I'm Josh. Today we're looking at the Leupold Mark IV 4.5 to 18, and we're looking at this because I think that this is potentially the best DMR scope that you've never heard about and has some really crazy good features that nobody is talking about. So we're going to get into the details of the scope. We're going to take it out. We're going to shoot it a little bit, and I'm going to talk about all these features and why they matter for DMR and why this is probably going to be my go-to DMR scope for the foreseeable future. Alright, so getting straight into this before we go out and show you guys a shooting, we will be filming through this with a Tacticam 2.1, and I do want to make a quick administrative note that anytime you record through a scope, you are probably getting 50% of the image quality. I've tried probably every scope camera on the market, and it just seems to be true across the board. You have light coming through lenses in the scope, and what we see out of this is truly amazing for what is going on in here mechanically. But then when you put a camera on the back of it, now you are recording an image of an image, and it just isn't going to be what you see to your eye. However, it does help us show you what you're looking at in terms of reticle, overall image quality in comparison to other things we've done. Now, we did a review on the Mark IV 6 to 24 already. If you haven't checked that out, it is worth a look. But if you are totally unfamiliar with Leupold Mark IVs, basically what they did was they took their very successful Mark V lineup and they kind of shrunk things down a little bit. Now, this is a 4x magnification. This is true for all of the Mark IV. So in this case, you have a 4.5 to 18. You can get an 8 to 32, a 6 to 24, whereas the Mark Vs will be a 5x magnification, 5 to 25. So these scopes come in typically around $1,500, and for the price point, they have really amazing glass, and they are just built extremely well. They all come with zero stops, rev indicators, all the things that you know and love about the Leupold Mark V series, they come over to the Mark IV. This one is in the PR1 reticle, which is a very basic reticle, but it has illumination. You can see on this side of the optic we have a push button illumination system, and it works really well. But there's a key feature that you get when you get these in the illuminated models, and that is an electronic reticle level. So basically what that means for you is you can look through your scope, and when your reticle is level, the illumination will be on and solid. And anytime you cant this optic out of level, you are going to get the reticle flashing, letting you know you aren't level. Now, why does that matter? Well, for DMR, what I was looking for was a very clean reticle since I'm not using precise holdovers. But having this scope now with the electronic level reticle, I also don't need to bolt extra stuff on here. I can keep my rifle really streamlined. I can keep it free of clutter because sometimes we put ourselves in some weird positions shooting DMR. So my level is built into the optic. So you end up with a very streamlined and robust optic that I think is going to serve me very well long term. So to get back into the other features, for the 4.5 to 18, it is a capped windage turret, but I will run it uncapped like this. So I just unscrew this and you get a nice exposed windage turret. The parallax has a large focus knob, and one thing you'll notice about all the controls if you were to get your hands on this is that everything is very smooth, but also a little bit stiff, and not in a bad way. It feels very controlled and like nothing will slip. We have our magnification adjustment. It is also extremely smooth. Basically, all the controls are very tight, very smooth. We have the fast focus eyepiece, diopter here in the back. It, again, very smooth and just stiff enough to where I know when I set this that I won't have to worry about it coming out of adjustment. So, and of course, like all the Mark IVs, you're getting a zero stop, and that has a locking feature with this button. You simply rotate to zero, it locks in place and will not turn unless you push the button and rotate it. That button also serves as a rev indicator because as you pass that first rev at 10 mils, that button will suck in, letting you know you are on your second rev, which is really nice. Like I said, the theme of these Mark IV scopes is that you're getting a whole lot for not a lot of money because these are in the $1,500 price range. And based on my experience with the 6 to 24 and now the 4.5 to 18, what you get for that money is quite a lot. You're getting the throw lever. The one thing you're not getting with this is a sunshade. So if you're somebody who always runs a sunshade, I typically do, just know you're going to have to buy that extra. But I think let's get out there let's get to shooting. We are shooting the JPAR-22, but we're just shooting some TAC-22. I bought a case of that stuff for next to nothing, and it doesn't shoot that great out of the rifle, so don't expect, you know, absolute accuracy out of this. You know, we're out there shooting just to show you guys what this scope is all about. But let's go ahead and record, and we're going to get this somewhat parallaxed in, and let's ramp up the magnification. And we're a little out of focus. We're gonna use our parallax there. And what you're looking at is this reticle is flashing. I left the illumination on and it woke up. And it's flashing because the reticle is not level. Now watch this. If I move this, bam, the reticle is now a solid illumination. Let me twist it to the left here. Oh, we're out of level again. A really freaking cool feature, especially for a DMR gun. And why? Because I don't need to put a bunch of stuff on my rifle. I want to keep it very basic. You see the reticle there is very basic. And that's because holdovers and those kind of things, typically in precision rifle, you know, we're going to hold over 1.2 mils, 2.3 mils, and it has to be very precise. In DMR, I'm engaging on 223 targets out to 600 yards with their IPSCs. So typically my first target may be like a center hold. So let's say this will all be out of focus. Let's say this guy, that's a center hold. And then my furthest target is out here and it's a 1.5 mil hold. Well, I don't really have to dial that or hold that. I can range the target, mill it, and then I can say, okay, this target there, I just hold at the top of it. And this super clean reticle is going to make that really easy. Let me get back on target here. And let's get this parallax back in for you guys. The target is shot all to crap. Apologies for that, but we have to get this zeroed. So let's see what we can do with a zero here. Of course, it's windy for this, naturally. Let's first just pick the top corner of this. Okay. That was way low. Okay, back in there. All right, so I'd say on average we need to come up a tenth, and we definitely need to come, let's see, left a tenth. And again, this is just Norma TAC-22. This is not like crazy match ammo, so you know, it was cheap and plentiful, and that's why we got it. I have no idea where that second shot went, but that appears to be good enough. Level. There we go. Scope was telling on me. All right. So I'd say that's good enough. And all we need to do is loosen these set screws. And just like the Mark V, this turret has a lock at 0 with this little push button. And so it's really easy. Once you get it zeroed, you just loosen those set screws and turn it to 0, and it's going to kind of suck itself in, which is really nice. And it's going to hold itself on 0. So if you're just trying to zero this reticle, although it does require an Allen key, it is very, very easy. All right. So we're zeroed at 50. Let me back out here. We're going to see how much actual elevation we have. 1 mil, let's see, that's 10, 17, and 0.8 mils. So way more than enough for any kind of DMR shooting or anything. And you know, this isn't set up on any sort of cant. It's just a mount that I use for DMR rifles. It has 0 cant. So obviously we can incorporate some, like, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 MOA of cant in a base here, and that would give us more dial, but you know, we don't need it for DMR. Anyway, I think we're close. Let's peel back in. I know this this stuff is in the shadows there, as you guys can tell. Let's refresh our magazine. And let's see if our 0 is still good. Oh. A little bit of left to right, I think. Reticle's yelling at me. There we go. And you can see as I'm using this and getting kind of out off cant, the reticle's yelling at me to get it back on target, which is pretty cool. Now we're a little left there. There we go. We'll actually go after this guy. It's about 35 yards. Yeah, absolutely just annihilating that. Of course, I missed the last friggin' one. But anyway, let's move this on to some props. All right, so we're gonna dial up to about, I don't know, 1 to 8. We're gonna see how we do there. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see that in the camera, but there's like a swarm of like gnats down there, which is, hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully it's in focus for you, because that's a very good point about this scope and these Mark IV series scopes, is they are just really, really clear and really great optically. All right, let's see. She's yelling at me. Okay. We're at a level, back in level. Looks like we're a little low there. There we go. But yeah, you can see how well this thing works. We're going to move it in and out of position and kind of use it to tell us when we're in and out of level. So let's see here. This would emulate kind of a DMR scenario, although our targets would probably be a lot easier than that. But we're going to shoot our 2 biggest targets because DMR are typically fairly easy targets. It's more about speed. Well, let's see if we can use that. Back on safe. Jam this thing in here. Back on safe. On safe. It's just, this scope is such a good DMR scope. All right, good to go. I'm gonna crank in the magnification. Hopefully you guys can see that. But that reticle, having that electronic level kind of sensor deal, is going to be a good deal for me, especially at distance. When you're talking about DMR, a lot of close targets, you know, it doesn't really matter. But say you start engaging targets at 500 yards and you're in a weird position and you come in off cant, it can make a big deal. And just having that to kind of remind you that, hey, your rifle is not level. That can definitely save you some time. And I don't have to add anything on the rifle. I don't have to add weight. I don't have to add things that stick out, because DMR rifles, they can put you in some sporty positions where you're carrying equipment up ladders, you know, on rooftop, all sorts of things. So the more simple, the better. So yeah, lots of information here, guys, on the Leupold Mark IV. Again, this is the second one I've tested. I am really, really happy with these. And these have really been great scopes for me for the money. I don't think you would be disappointed picking one of these up. And if you're into DMR, or you like the basic clean style reticle and you want that electronic level kind of feature with that motion sensor technology, and if I didn't touch on that before, that is basically shake awake. So you can leave the illumination on, and once the scope sits still for a while, it will shut itself off. And you know, that's a huge feature that I've used on red dots to save myself from having to replace batteries all the time. And I think it's going to be really good on this too. So overall, a really well thought out optic. And yeah, continuing with that line of Mark IVs that have impressed me so far. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you on the next one.